The Mastiff had been sitting outside their daughter's bedroom door for 11 nights straight. On the 12th night, they finally understood why. Priya Mehta had never been afraid of Brahm, not once in 6 years. He was the kind of dog that made strangers cross the street and then apologize once they met him, because he had the face of something ancient and tired, and the temperament of a sunbeam. He was 180 pounds of patience. He had never once in his life done anything that required explaining. Until the week after Isla turned 2, it started small. A Tuesday evening, after dinner, Brahm walked to the hallway outside Isla's room and sat down. Priya called him back for his bowl. He didn't come. She called again. He turned his head toward her and turned it back. She brought his bowl to him. He ate from it without taking his eyes off the door. She noted it. She did not act on it. By Thursday, it was every evening. The moment Priya carried Isla toward her room for bath time, Brahm was already there. Not following. Already there. Standing in the hallway, turning a slow circle, lowering his head, inhaling, then sitting, then refusing to move until Priya had carried Isla back out. She could not get him to leave. She tried the command, the treat, the collar. He sat in place. His eyes stayed on the door. The one time she physically moved him, he returned before she reached the kitchen. Her husband, Sanjay, stood in the hallway on the 5th night and watched for a few minutes. Separation anxiety, he said. She's been sleeping in there, and he can't handle it. He's fixating. Priya looked at the dog and felt the word fixating land in a particular way. Sanjay was an emergency room physician. He used that word with precision. She trusted his precision. She began to trust the word. By the 8th night, Brahm was no longer just sitting in the hallway. He was pressing his nose against the seam at the bottom of the door and inhaling for 30, 40 seconds at a time. Then rising, pacing 3 steps, returning, pressing his nose to the seam again. Priya's mother, staying with them for the month, watched from the top of the stairs. That dog is obsessing. Priya, it isn't normal. He never acted this way before. I'm telling you. They moved him to the laundry room with his bed. On the 9th night, he scratched at the door from 9 p.m. until Priya could not stand the sound. She let him out at midnight. He went directly back to the hallway. Sat, pressed his nose to the gap, inhaled. On the 12th night, Priya woke at 2:47 a.m. For no reason she could name. She lay still for a moment. The house was quiet. Brahm was not scratching. She turned over. Then she heard the sound from the monitor. Not crying. Not silence. Something between them. A small rhythmic catching, like a breath that couldn't complete itself. She was moving before the thought finished. Isla was on her back in the crib. Her arms were at her sides. Her eyes were partially open, but not tracking. Her body was making small, rhythmic, involuntary movements that Priya had no word for until she did, until the word arrived fully formed and cold. And she was already shouting for Sanjay. Febrile seizure. Fever. 104.2 degrees. The ambulance arrived in 9 minutes. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Dr. Yemi Osei, pediatric neurology at Children's Hospital, sat with them the following morning. He explained that febrile seizures in toddlers are triggered by rapid temperature spikes, often occurring before parents detect the fever through touch or visual cues. Isla's body had been building toward this event for multiple days. The temperature gradient, the metabolic shift, the neurochemical changes accompanying the rising fever. All of it had been producing a scent signature in her room that no human in the building could perceive. Brahm had been perceiving it for 11 days. He looked at them over the chart. Dogs have documented responses to pre-ictal neurological states, Dr. Osei said. We don't fully understand the mechanism. We know it's real. He paused. Something was monitoring your daughter. What made you check the monitor at 2:47 a.m.? Priya looked at Sanjay. The house had been completely quiet. Brahm had not made a sound. Has your dog ever done something you couldn't explain till it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. She thought about that for a long time afterward. The 11 nights of her dog pressing his nose to a door seam, reading the air inside the room, trying to communicate a number no thermometer in the house had registered yet. Fixation, they had called it. Obsession. 180 pounds of ancient patience, sitting outside the door every night, doing the only thing available to him, waiting for one of them to ask the right question. Isla came home on a Saturday morning. Brahm was on the front porch. He stood when the car door opened. He watched Priya carry Isla up the steps and through the door. He walked inside. He went to Isla's room, stood at the crib rail, looked in, exhaled once. Then he lay down on the floor beside it. He has slept there every night since. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The next story involves a dog who began circling a specific wall in the kitchen, 14 days before anyone found what was inside it. Priya sits on the floor sometimes now, back against the crib rail, and watches Brahm sleep in the way that only animals and infants sleep, completely, without reservation, with nothing held back. He sleeps the way someone sleeps when they know the watch has already been kept.